Sawadee Krap. Today is Wednesday, August 10th. I'm JP Mestanza, and this is Phuket Extra, brought to you by pbcphuket.com. Officials are providing more hours for people to renew their driver's licenses, as the Phuket Land Transport Office in Phuket will now be able to handle it during weekday evenings and on Saturdays. The Department of Land Transport is embarking on a national campaign to have people renew their license throughout the month of August and September, and land transport offices in select provinces, including Phuket, will now be open from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, except public holidays, and also from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Saturdays. People must book an appointment through the DLT Smart Queue app found on the Google Play Store or the App Store on iOS. Other provinces where the hours of the land transport offices have been extended include Surat Thani, Songkhla, Nakhon Si Thammarat, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Bangkok, Chonburi, and others. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. With a legal dispute over when his premiership began and when it will end still rolling on, Deputy Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwon predicts that the Premier, Prayut Chan-o-cha, will carry on as Prime Minister for 2 more years and expects him to run for a second term as the nominee of the Palang Pracharat Party. The current Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha came to power in a 2014 military coup that overthrew an elected civilian government, as Prayut Chan-o-cha, then head of the armed forces, became head of the National Council for Peace and Order. In that role, he oversaw the writing of a new charter, the creation of a military-appointed Senate in that charter, the referendum of the new constitution in 2016, its ratification in 2017, and the 2019 general election, in which Prayut ran under the newly created Palang Pracharat Party, which is basically an offshoot of the military junta that ran the country from 2014 up to that point. Under the new constitution that Prayut himself oversaw the writing and passage of, the Prime Minister is elected to a term of 8 years. However, there are some who question when his term officially began, because he had also run the country as the leader of the military junta. Just last Friday, an activist, Sri Suwan Janya, whom Phuket officials know all too well, he asked both the Election Commission and the Office of the Ombudsman to seek a constitutional court interpretation of when his tenure ends. Other political opponents say his term began in 2014 when he first assumed the role of Prime Minister as leader of the military coup, which would mean that his term ends this year. Others believe that he was elected in June of 2019 and his 8-year term would end in 2027. Others say that the clock started when the Constitution was ratified by His Majesty the King in April of 2017, meaning the Premier's tenure would end in 2025. One thing everyone agrees on is that the Constitutional Court does have final say on this matter, and the Premier himself has been a little coy about when he thinks exactly his tenure began, although he did state previously that he felt it began in 2019 when he was elected. In speaking with reporters this week, the Deputy Prime Minister also stated that while he supports Prayut running for office again, he wouldn't rule out accepting the nomination from the party if he's nominated as a candidate for Prime Minister in the next election. However, the Bangkok Post cites government sources that say that the Premier has given the nod to Health Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul, the leader of the second biggest party in the ruling coalition, the Boomjai Thai Party, to be his successor. For more, visit the link in the description. In order to stem rising inflation in the country, the Bank of Thailand, for the first time since 2018, has raised its key interest rate on Wednesday, lifting it by a quarter point. With consumer inflation hovering around near 14-year highs throughout the country, the Central Bank of Thailand, one of Asia's least hawkish, has finally increased the one-day repurchase rate to 0.75% from a record low of 0.50%, which had been unchanged since May of 2020 in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Officials hope the lifting of the key interest rate would be enough to fight off surging inflation to help with the country's economic recovery. The secretary of the BOT's Monetary Policy Committee stated, quote, "The economic recovery has continued with momentum from higher than expected foreign tourism. The Thai economy is expected to return to the pre-COVID level by the end of this year and will continue to gain traction." Meanwhile, the finance minister states that the gradual rise is enough to counter inflation without hurting growth. For more, visit the link in the description. After helping revive a British man who suffered a heart attack on the Patong Beach Road last week, an Australian tourist is being formally recognized for his efforts by the Australian Consul General in Phuket. Rob Cullen from Melbourne, Australia, had arrived in Phuket with his wife for a holiday. Last Tuesday, August 2nd, at about 9:30 p.m., they saw a British man had collapsed on the footpath of the Patong Beach Road. Rob used his CPR skills and after 15 minutes managed to revive the 73-year-old British man and maintain his vital signs until an ambulance arrived. Wal Brown, a longtime expat who worked with the police volunteer program in Patong, stated that Cullen just kept going until the man could breathe again, and he was rushed to Patong Hospital and later transferred to Bangkok Hospital Phuket on the other side of the island. For his efforts, Australia's Consul General in Phuket, Matthew Barclay, presented Cullen with a certificate of commendation, stating that his actions were phenomenal and calling him a true hero for his quick thinking and critical care for a complete stranger. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. Thank you so much for joining us here today on this Wednesday edition of Phuket Extra, brought to you by pvcphuket.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Join us again then. Until then, stay classy, Phuket.
Phuket's rapid modernization has made it one of the world's premier holiday destinations. Investors can still buy quality condominiums for as low as $75,000 and luxury properties can go all the way up to 20 million. Condominiums in Phuket are a safe, secure bricks-and-mortar investment offering foreigners freehold ownership. Call or email Thai Residential, Phuket's #1 trusted real estate advisor, to find your perfect Phuket property.